Hello everyone, thanks for tuning in to the 10th and final Autumn 2021 update from GavsWeatherVids. So here we go, this is it. We have done 9 updates so far for the Autumn of 2021, along with 2 season model roundups. So it's all come down to this. It's the final update. We've got one more season model roundup to do for you next Saturday. And then that's it. We will be releasing the GavsWeatherVids Autumn 2021 forecast for you on Sunday, a week today. You'll get to see what we're forecasting for this autumn. We've got one more update for you. It's going to be an epic update, this. We've got 70 open tabs here. So we're almost pushing winter update levels of tabs. I'm going to go through the data. We're looking at August data for this one. Now, of course, because we're talking about August data, we're still like 9 or 10 days short of month's end. This is all projections and, suppositions. So there is a margin for error with this. We're hoping we're pitching things about right, but of course there will be a margin of error with this. We're just going to try and do the best we can on this final update. So I'll get on that for you very shortly. Just say that the first video release was our 7 AM broadcast, and we've also got GavsWeatherVids Sunny Roundup coming up for you later on today. Perhaps a little bit later than normal due to that, but I'm not live streaming tonight, so I'm going to be having the evening off. I'm going to have a meal out and relax for once on a Sunday evening. So no live stream tonight. Lives will be back next week. We've got Friday night live stream coming up, of course, this coming Friday, and then the next Sunday live stream will be a week today. We'll be able to discuss the autumn forecast on that one, of course, but no live stream this week. Right, so that's everything I've got to tell you. I think other than to say thank you so much to Rich for the incredible and amazing Autumn 2021 updates GIF. Thank you so much, Rich. You know how much I love the GIF, all the GIFs, but particularly the Autumn GIFs, because they always look so lovely, with the vibrant colours and whatnot. So thank you so much to Rich for the GIF. Also thank you so much to Shrine as well. Very, very hard on this update to get to the years together for the analog. So thank you so much to my good friend Shrine Bruin for all of the help, not only on this update, but also on all of the updates. So thank you to Shrine, thank you to Rich. Amazing, incredible. I'm supported by so many wonderful people all of the time. And just thank you so much for the support to Richard and also to Shrine. Okay, so let's begin this 10th and final Autumn 2021 update. We're going to start off Central England temperature. So the CET is currently sitting, as I'm recording a video on the 21st, I should say, of August, provisional up to the 20th of August. CET currently sitting at 6.4, which is 16.4, which is an anomaly of 0.4 of a degree above average. Now, my good friend Simon, aka Global Warming, from the Weather Outlook Forum, is projecting that the central temperature will finish up at 16.2. Actually 16.21, but it's going to be like 16.2 that we finish up with CT if the projection is correct. Bear in mind, again, we're well short of the end of the month, so there is a little bit of a margin for error with that. It might be a little bit above that, say about 16.3 or 16.4. It could be a little bit below that. If it's to get a couple of unexpectedly cool nights, for example, we might come out at 16.0 or 16.1. So there will be a bit of a margin of error there due to how short we are of the end of the month. But the central projection right now from Simon is 16.2. And so for this first part of this final autumn update, we're going to be looking at autumns following August with a CET range of 16.1 to 16.3. Quite a narrow range due to the fact there are a lot of years that have, CET either in the upper 15s or the low 16s. So let's do this then. The first autumn following an August CET range of 16.1, 16.3. Shall I put the webcam back on for this? Why not? Okay, there we go. So the first autumn is going to be 1859 following this CET range. It's a wet autumn as well with low pressure below average heights in off the Atlantic. Wow, a wet wet autumn to start us off. Our next autumn, following an August CET range of 16.1, 16.3, is 1867. This one much more anticyclonic, with above average heights to our north and west, and below average heights to our east and southeast, and incoming winds from the east and the northeast. That's a drier but potentially a little bit colder autumn, I think, in 1867. Our next autumn is going to be 1875. This one has strong blocking signals. Northern blocking around Greenland, Iceland, with below average heights to our south and east, and in will come east to northeast winds with that, potentially quite unsettled and cold in the autumn of 1875. Next autumn is 1878. This is preceding a severely cold winter. This one already getting the blocking in place for the winter of 1878, 1879, which is an extremely cold winter. The blocking is already there, centered over the Arctic and Greenland, with the below average heights extending through the west of Europe. It's a very wet autumn, and quite a coolish autumn as well. Not overly cold, but there are cold snaps, as you'd expect with that sort of level of northern blocking. But it's a very unsettled autumn. It's also a big hurricane season that we have in 1878. There's a very, very big hurricane season going on in that one. The next autumn is 1897. This one, again, with above average heights centered over the UK and Western Europe. That's a dry autumn. And, probably not overly cold. There's not much northern blocking. But a very dry autumn for 1897. Long gap then through to 1914. This is a relatively anticyclonic autumn, and quite a mild autumn as well, with above average heights sitting very close to the country. I think that's a relatively mild autumn in 1914. 1918 is a wet autumn, so bringing in low pressure from off the Atlantic, and yeah, that's a very unsettled and wet autumn in 1918, following that August CET range of 16.1, 16.3. Our next autumn is going to be 1926. This one also very unsettled autumn. I think better change of colour actually. With this one, with below average heights over northwest Europe. So again, quite a wettish autumn, and also relatively mild autumn in 1926. And next autumn is 1936. Following a wet summer, we have a drier autumn here, with above average heights over just the west of the country. A little bit on the cool side perhaps, but 1936 in the autumn is generally quite a dryish autumn. I think it does get a little bit colder later. Next autumn is 1938, so this is an unsettled and wet autumn as well, with low pressure in off the Atlantic. So this has an exceptionally mild November. November 1938 is extremely mild. There's two back-to-back actually, 1939 and also 1940. Quite a cool and wet September and October though, I think, in 1938. The next autumn is 1953. This one's rather mild and unsettled, with low pressure extending down the western side of Europe. And then we've got the autumn of 1953 showing up next. This is a drier and milder autumn. Low pressure's out to the northwest, high pressure to our east-southeast. And so we're bringing up wind from a southwesterly direction. It's relatively mild, but also pretty dry in 1953. A long gap then, very long gap. Next time we get an August CET range of 16.1, 16.3 is in 1981. And this also is an unsettled and wet autumn. It has a very wet September in 1981, I should say. Talking about. Has been a long day. I can tell you that. It's been a long day today when I'm doing this. So, what was I saying? Yes, very wet September in 1981. After a dry sort of first 10 days. I think the first 10 days is pretty dry, and then there's a deluge. Carries on into October, turns cold in October of 1981 as well, by the way. And then November, again, just quite unsettled, but a lot milder, really. There are tornadoes, famously, in November 1981. Of course, it is all preceding a very cold winter for 81, 82. Another pretty long gap then through to 1999. So the autumn of 1999 is generally mild and dry, has an exceptionally warm September, and the rest of the autumn is generally quite mild and dry. Really. Right, we're into 2000s. Next time I have an August CET range of 60.1, 60.3 is in 2005, the autumn of 2005. 2005 is generally quite mild and quite warm actually through most of it. Pretty unsettled, so it doesn't really show much away of low pressure. There's quite a bit of rain through the autumn of 2005. The main thing, though, is that most of the time we're bringing up wind from a south-southwest direction. There's a big change in the middle of November of 2005. The second half of November 2005 turns very cold with northerly winds, but most of the autumn is actually warm but quite wet. Then we've got autumn 2006, so two back-to-back years here, 2005 and 2006. This is a very warm autumn with high pressure to east and south, low pressure to west and northwest, and up are coming those warm southerly winds. And then we've got 2008 showing up next. So this, again, following CET range of 6.1 to 16.3. Again, with below average heights extending down the western side of Europe, above average heights pulled out into the middle of the North Atlantic. Jet stream doing something a little bit like that. This is a colder autumn, preceding a rather colder winter for 08-09. So this has some snow in southern England, low southern England, you know, at the end of October, which is very unusual. So there is lying snow across southern England at the end of October, and just generally quite a colder autumn compared to what I've had in the years previous. So we looked at those years, 2005, 2006, very warm autumns. Most of them in the 2000s were, until we get 2008 and have a colder autumn. September is rather cooler and wetter, and there are regular cold snaps in November 2008 as well. Right, so let's start putting all that together then. This out all of September's combined. Looking for an August CET range of 16.1 to 16.3. It's an unsettled signal overall for these Septembers, with low pressure below average heights over the UK and out in the Atlantic as well. Jet stream coming through rather like that, so a wet but cool September being signalled overall. All Octobers combined look like this, so lower pressure tends to be to our south, somewhat higher pressure close to the country, particularly towards Scandinavia, means that we might bring in something a little bit drier during these Octobers a lot of the time, and a little bit easterly as well. And then all Novembers combined, clearly having the driest signal. So for November, we tend to set up high pressure over to the west and also to the east of the country, low pressure to our north. Anti-cyclonic signal, therefore, generally with these Novembers. Could be cool, as it's November, you know, you could get frost and fog, but generally not a cold signal because the high pressure is not going far enough north. Actually, we have low pressure over Greenland and whatnot, and over the Arctic. So generally, we're on the mild side of a jet stream. The only thing that could make it cold is being under the high pressure might get inversions from frost and fog and that sort of thing, but not a snowy, cold scenario. And then all autumns combined, following an August CET range of 60.1 to 60.3, look like this. Overall, it's unsettled, but bear in mind, most of that is going to be down to September. It does get progressively drier as we go on through the autumn. Narrowing things down, just to look at the years post-1950, this is how we look. So this is all Septembers combined, following August CET range of 60.1 to 60.3. Post-1950, it looks like this, with low pressure over to the west of the country, high pressure over Scandinavia. So high pressure is a little bit closer to us, but I think it's still an unsettled signal for those Septembers, to be honest. Still looks quite wet, and a little bit southerly, actually. So warm and wet, perhaps, signal for those Septembers now, after 1950. All Octobers combined after 1950 look like this. Low pressure again around Greenland, Iceland, higher pressure to east. It's a warm signal, I think, a warmer signal overall after 1950, with winds tend to be more southerly. We should expect, of course, because we have got 2005, 2006, and also 1999 in the pack. But then again, we've also got 1981, 2008 in the pack as well. So, you know, it's not guaranteed, but it will be warm in September and October, but looks quite unsettled and warm and wet for those 2 months. And then all Novembers combined look like that. High pressure, again, dominates the weather in the Novembers, with a little bit more to our south. Low pressure, a little bit deeper around Greenland, Iceland. So still sort of mild and anti-cyclonic, really, with winds tending to be light from a westerly direction. Not much doing here from a cold perspective, I have to say. If you want early cold, not much going on. This is how all autumns combined are looking for an August CET range of 60.1, 60.3 post 1950. And generally it's anticyclonic actually, with high pressure tending to be to the south and east of the country, low pressure away to the north and west, drawing up winds from a southerly southwest direction. These Augusts are favouring a mild autumn, and one that is relatively dry, particularly for the south and the east. Bear in mind, you know, September in particular does look quite wet, but other than that, particularly November, looks relatively drier. Right, we're done with the first batch of analogs. We've got a lot more to show you, though. I'm going to pause the video there, and when we return, we will resume this 10th and final autumn 2021 update, looking at August data. But you stretch your legs, get yourself a cup of tea and a comfy chair and a little biscuit or something, and I shall get the next set of analogs loaded up for you. So I'll see you around 2 seconds time. Okay. We're back, and we're ready to resume the 10th and final Autumn 2021 update from GavsWeatherVids. So here we go again. Let's crack on. And we're going to do something a little bit different for this middle part of the video, actually. So at this point, we'd normally talk about England and Wales precipitation, of course. This is the England and Wales precipitation page from the UK Met, going all the way back to 1766. It's one of the longest from the CET, one of the longest temperature and precipitation measurements anywhere on Earth. Right, so we go down to the current year, which of course is going to be 2021. There it is, just there. And of course, August precipitation number will be placed just here. The only problem is we don't know what that's going to be, and it's very difficult to make a projection as well about this. So I'll just turn the webcam back on and explain. We're very close to average for precipitation. I think it's going to be a little bit drier than average, but quite where we finish up, because we're having quite a wettish sort of spell over the weekend, which will lift the precipitation up a little bit. So where we finish up for England and Wales precipitation is you know, it's impossible really for Shrine and myself to make a projection on that. So unfortunately, and we'll be able to do this for the winter updates when we have the number in, you know, we will be able to do August precipitation to winter data in winter updates. But at this point for the autumn update, I'm afraid we cannot bring you precipitation data. What we are going to do, though, is talk about precipitation through the summer overall. So this has been a very, very, very unusual summer. In that it's been much drier in the north compared to the south during this summer. So Scotland has actually had a drier summer compared to England and Wales, which is highly unusual, highly, you know, abnormal for that to happen. Normally it's always wetter in the north and drier in the south in the summer, but you do sometimes get exceptions. So I thought, you know, just to go on a little bit of a tangent, because you know Gav loves to go off on a tangent, we'll have a look at autumns following summers that are drier in Scotland than England, and there aren't that many of them, but there are a few. So this is actually the summer so far in terms of the 500 millibar height anomaly. So this is how it looks. It's quite interesting. So it's a very unusual pattern in that we have higher pressure further north, so we get this ridge from the Atlantic extending through Scotland and to the northern UK, and then on in Scandinavia, low pressure up around Greenland and Iceland within the Arctic, so not much in way of northern blocking this summer, but we have this big ridge through the North Atlantic to northern Europe with lower pressure underneath it. So you can see why the south has been wetter than the north, can't you? So the north has been close to or under this ridge through most of the time. The south has had this trough around northern France and the Bay of Biscay. So that's the reason it's been wetter in the south than the north. It is an unusual situation. It's an unusual scenario, but it does happen occasionally. And these are the years that Shrine has picked out. So all of these autumns are following summers, and we will do much more in way of summer to winter data, by the way, but I thought I'd just do a little bit of this for the last autumn update, because, you know, for interest purposes. So this is how, so what we're looking at here, let's get back to business. What we're looking at here is summers that are drier for Scotland than England, and the autumn that follows those summers. So this is 1879. This is the autumn of 1879, following the summer of 1879, which is drier in the north than the south. So this is a cold year. It's a very strange year anyway. 1879 is the last time we have a 7 Celsius CET, you know, annual CET was in 1879. Extraordinarily cold winter for 1878, 1879. Very, very cold spring, really cool summer, and also a cold autumn as well. And we bring the wind in from the north, of course, that area of high pressure just out to our west and northwest. We bring the wind in from the north, and so that is a pretty cold autumn. And then just 1 year on, so it's very unusual to have it drier in the north than the south in the summer, but we have 2 back-to-back years here, interestingly. So we've got 1880 showing up next. This is the autumn of 1880. This is quite a cold autumn, preceding a really cold winter as well, by the way. So this one, again, with lots of northern blocking around Greenland and within the high latitudes, with below average heights, low pressure extending through northwest Europe, and so a northerly autumn, an unsettled autumn, and I dare say there was quite a bit of snow later on in the autumn of 1880. Right, got 879 again there for some reason. I don't know why that's showing up. Right, so a long gap then through to 1912. Look at this. The autumn of 1912 is the next time we have a, you know, we have a year of 1912. Is next time we have a summer that's dry in the north and the south. The autumn of 1912 has above average heights. I'm not doing this very well, am I? Sorry, Shrine. You have high pressure away to our west and northwest, lower pressure to our south and east. And again, with this one, it's drier, but also perhaps a little bit on the cool side. So we have a deluge summer, of course, in 1912, particularly so for England and Wales. And then the autumn goes a great deal drier. A long gap then through to 1968. 1968 is a very, very interesting year. I'll explain why in a moment. The autumn of 1968, again, with quite a bit of blocking within a high latitude. Low pressure is to our west-southwest. This is a warmer autumn, especially so in October. Very, very warm October. It does have quite a wet September and, you know, relatively coolish in September. And then I think November starts to get a little bit colder in 1968. But overall, it's quite a mild autumn, but also quite an unsettled autumn. Now, the reason this is a very interesting year is that I think there has been some comparisons, you know, between this year, 2021, and 1968. We'll talk much more about this probably in the winter updates. But yeah, I think 1968 is quite an interesting comparison sort of year to 2021, albeit it's quite a colder year compared to 2021. But I think the patterns and, you know, the way the season's worked out, I think quite similar this year to 1968. 1971 also had a summer that was drier in the north and the south. The autumn of 1971 is quite anticyclonic. High pressure close to the UK, that's relatively dry and mild autumn. And then the last year where this happened, where it was warmer in Scotland than England, was actually in 1997. The autumn of 1997 is just anticyclonic, really, for most of it dry and quite warm. It has a dry, warm September. Most of October, first half anyway, is dry and warm. Then the second half stays quite dry but goes a lot colder. And there's some very severe overnight frost for October in the final week or so of October 1997. And then November unleashes a deluge. And November 1997 is a warm and wet month. Of course, we had a Super Nino going on while that was happening. And that's all there is. So that's how unusual it is to get a summer that's drier in the north than in the south. Putting all of that together then, this is how all Septembers combined are looking. Overall, an anticyclonic signal scenario with above average height centred over top of UK and Ireland. So a warm, dry September is favoured there. All Octobers combined, again, anticyclonic. The only difference is about the high pressure tends to pull out a little bit to our west, which possibly allows things to go a bit cooler or colder. But generally, you know, a dry signal again for the Octobers. And then all Novembers combined look like that. So we tend to get high pressure to our west, northwest this time, low pressure tends to be more to the south, and winds are coming in from kind of like an easterly direction. So again, it's an anticyclonic signal, very much so, actually, for these autumns. This is how all autumns combined look following summers that are drier in Scotland than England. Unsurprisingly, it's an anticyclonic signal with high pressure centred over the top of the UK and Ireland, more or less. Bear in mind, very, very small sample range of years, just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Very, very small sample of years, so I'm not sure how much credence being put in that, really, due to the small, number of years that we've got to go on there. But it does highlight just how unusual this summer has been. Okay, so at that point I'm going to pause the video. Again, we've got one more set of analogues to show you in the third and final part of this 10th autumn update. But I'm going to pause the video there very, very briefly, and I'll see you in 2 seconds. Okay, you noticed it coming, you knew it's coming, didn't you? We're back and we're ready to resume the third and final part of the 10th and final Autumn 2021 update. If you enjoyed this video so far, please just smash the like button, make sure you subscribe to our channel, and don't forget to drop a comment. Let us know what you think about this and all of our videos. Thank you so much for doing that. Now, this final part is going to look at something completely different. I don't think we've ever looked at this before. So because we can't do precipitation for August, because, you know, we're too close to average to be able to project where we're going to finish up. So because we can't do that, I thought we would have a look at sunshine, or in this case, cloud amounts. We have had a very, very dull August. And we think this is probably going to be like a top 20 dullest August. This just here, I'm going to have to zoom out on this. So let's see if we can do that, shall we? I'm going to have to zoom out. There we go. We're zooming out, zooming out, zooming out, zooming out. There we go. I think we zoomed out enough. So there we go. This is July's sunshine duration percentage, to average. So when the August figure appears, which will be at the beginning of September, there will be a map that looks something a little bit like this. You see it in July, it was very sunny with more sunshine than average to western and northwestern areas. It was a bit dull in the east. When August map appears, we will see that, the UK map, looking much greyer than that. I don't think we'll have as much yellow and orange on August map as we did for July. We think that this August is going to be a top 20 dullest August on record for UK sunshine. These only go back to 1909, so no, don't go back anywhere as far as like CET and also England away of precipitation. But, 1999 is a long way back, and so we think that this August 2021, will be like a top 20 dullest August since 1909. And so for this third and final part of this 10th autumn update, I thought we'd count down, have a bit of fun, and count down the top 20 dullest August and the autumns, but follow them. So here we go. Dum 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 dum. I won't do that again. I'm so sorry, everybody. This is number 20. In at number 20, we've got got 1956. So autumn 1956 follows the 20th dullest August on record. Now, after a deluge summer and a deluge August, actually, in 1956, we have an anticyclonic drier and warmer, drier and warmer autumn. Right, let's start going down some of these tabs, shall we, as we count down. Right, so at number 19, we've got 1946. So the 19th dullest August was 1946. The autumn of 1946, of course, preceding a very, very cold winter, has high pressure around Iceland and Greenland and low pressure to our south. So quite a lot of easterly winds during the autumn of 1946, maybe hinting at what's going to happen in the winter of 1947, perhaps. At number 18, we've got 2006. Again, showed up earlier on. It's back again. This one with low pressure to our west-northwest, high pressure to our south and southeast. Winds coming up from a warm southerly direction. It's a warm, very warm autumn in 2006. At number 17, we've got 1925. This one with high pressure in the North Atlantic and going towards Greenland, low pressure to our south and east. This is an unsettled and cooler autumn in 1925. At number 16, we've got the autumn of 1957. It has a wet September, but other than that, it's relatively dry and pretty mild as well, by the way. At number 15, we've got the autumn of 1986. So the 15th dullest August was 1986. The autumn of 1986 looks like this. So it has it's a westerly autumn overall with low pressure to the north and high pressure to the south. But this masks a very cold September. Last time we had a September with a CET under 12 degrees in the 11s was in 1986. The rest of the autumn is generally quite mild, but I think there are cold snaps, particularly in November. Our next autumn is 1971. It's back again with above average heights centred over the top of the UK and just to our west. So that's a mild and dry autumn at number 14. At number 13, we've got the autumn of 1943. This one also back again with low pressure extending down the western side of Europe. Quite a mild and unsettled autumn. Then at number 20, or I should say at number 12, it's 1920 with high pressure over Scandinavia. I don't know what I'm saying. High pressure over Scandinavia. Winds are coming in from the east and southeast. And autumn is coming, by the way. So that's a dry and mild autumn. At number 11, we've got 2011. This also quite a dry and mild autumn with high pressure over to the east country, low pressure out to our west. The winds are coming up from a southerly direction. That's a very mild autumn in 2011, but also reasonably dry as well. Right, 1980 comes in at number 10. This is a wetter autumn. It does get quite cold in November. It has a dry and mild September, I think. Turns much more unsettled and colder in October. And then has a cold and actually snowy start to November. We have a white bonfire night in 1980, famously. Right, with top 10. So at number 9, we've got 1978. The 9th dullest August is, in fact, 1978. The autumn of 1978 is a warm and dry autumn with high pressure centre over top of the UK. Low pressure is to the north. This, of course, follows a severely cold or precedes a severely cold winter. Absolutely no sign of that whatsoever. For the autumn pattern. Most of the autumn is dry and warm till the last week of November, and there's a big flip. Turns much colder and we start setting up a pattern for the winter. At number 8, we've got 1922. This is a dry autumn again with high pressure just out to our west. I think this is relatively mild. You look around things quite a cold autumn. It is not. Generally quite mild, but dry. At number 7, we've got 1924. This one, a much wetter autumn with low pressure to our west and high pressure way to our east and northeast. Autumn is coming. Everyone, it's on the way. Number 6, we've got 1958. This one is following a very wet summer. And has a very wet September, actually. But otherwise, it's anti-cyclonic, high pressure over Scandinavia, winds in from the east. So it's a relatively dry autumn after a wet September. Autumn's coming. Right, number 5, we've got 1954. This is a very, very wet autumn with low pressure to our north and northwest. High pressure to our south, winds in from the west. Very westerly, Atlantic-driven autumn, but also a very, very wet autumn as well in 1954. At number 4, the fourth dullest August is 1963. The autumn 1963 is mild and wet and unsettled with low pressure in of the Atlantic Ocean. And then we top 3. At number 3, we've got 1942. This is a milder anticyclonic autumn. High pressure to our west, low pressure to the north, winds in from a westerly direction. That's dry and mild autumn. At number 2, we've got 1948. This one is a dry and mild autumn as well, following the second dullest August on record. This one bringing up long fetch southwesterlies, very mild autumn in 1948. And then at number 1, the dullest August on record since 1909, when records began, was actually in 2008. Can you believe that, everyone? And so the order 2008 is back. It showed up earlier on. But the CET is back again for dullness. As low pressure extending down the west side of Europe, high pressure out into the middle of the Atlantic. Jet stream doing something a little bit like that. So it's, as I explained, it's a colder autumn. Has snow at the end of October across lowland southern England, which is very unusual. Regular cold snaps through November of 2018. And September is a little bit cooler and wetter compared to many of the Septembers that preceded it. Okay, so let's start putting all of that together then, and then we're going to be done. This is how all Septembers combined are looking, following the top 20 dullest Augusts. And we see that it's a wet and unsettled signal for these Septembers. Low pressure over to the northwest of the country, bringing westerly winds. It's a wet Atlantic-driven signal, cool and wet, September favoured. All Octobers combined, total flip to a dry and mild signal with high pressure centred over top of the UK. Low pressure is pushed northwards. So a dry and a mild signal for those Octobers following the top 20 dullest August. Wow. November's combined, following the top 20 dullest August. Again, anticyclonic with high pressure, tend to be over top of the UK and Ireland as well. Perhaps just a little bit more easterly, though, with these Novembers. So it could be rather colder, I think, with them. It looks like the air is coming much more from the continent than the Atlantic. So rather colder signal for those Novembers, but still very dry and anticyclonic. And then all autumns combined, following the top 20 dullest August. It is an anticyclonic signal with high pressure over top of the country. Bear in mind, September's a joke in the pack because that one is wet and unsettled. But otherwise, October and November flip too much drier. Narrowing things down to just look at the years after 1950. Finally, this is how all Septembers combined look, following the top 20 dullest August since 1909 records began. Post-1950, by the way, we get high pressure to our south, low pressure to our north. It's a little bit of a drier and warmer signal, but probably still quite unsettled, especially so for more northern areas. All Octobers combined post-1950 have high pressure over the country, low pressure again is to the north, a dry and mild signal for those Octobers. All Novembers combined post-1950, still an anticyclonic signal, the high pressure of centre away to our east, which again probably allows sort of southeasterly type winds becoming in off the continent. Could be a little bit cold, but it's not a classic sort of cold, snowy scenario, because actually in the northern latitudes we've got lots of low pressure. And then the last thing to look at is all autumns combined, following the top 20 dullest August post-1950. It is an anticyclonic signal, high pressure oversight to our south, low pressure to the north. So a dry and mild autumn overall is favoured after these dull Augusts. And that's it, everybody. We have come to the end of our autumn 2021 updates. What a journey it's been. We started these autumn updates at the beginning of June, or early in June, and we just carried on through the summer, doing them every week. We've come to the end. We can show you no more, because we've run out of time, and that's it. That's all we can do for you. So there is one last thing we can do, though, which will be the third and final season model roundup for autumn 2021. You're going to see that. You're going to see what the long range model showed for the last time for autumn on Saturday. And then next Sunday, week today, we will issue the GavsWeatherVids Autumn 2021 forecast. I think it'll be a very interesting forecast indeed. I'm struggling, I have to say. I am absolutely struggling with this autumn, but I will endeavour to get a forecast done for you, and you'll be able to see what we're predicting, next Sunday. So that's it. We've come to the end of the journey, more or less. Thank you so much, everybody, for following our autumn updates over the past 3 months. Of course, when we get the autumn forecast out way next week, then the long-range bandwagon rolls on to winter. And that's going to be an interesting journey, I can promise you that. This video is now within the Autumn 2020 playlist on the GavsWeatherVids YouTube homepage, so you can watch the video on demand whenever you would like. Just select the playlist and then select the video, and you'll be able to watch it whenever you want. We're going to be back later on with GavsWeatherVids Sunday Roundup. As I say, no live stream this week. I'm having this Sunday evening off, but live streams will be back next week. For the 10th and final Autumn 2021 update, that's all for now, and thanks for watching.